So anyway, good morning. Again, some people I know on the line, and I appreciate your time, and some are new to me. For those that don't know, I have been in the automotive world for it's scary to say, but over 25 years in the dealership environment. 15 of those as a GM with 7 brands. I don't say that to impress you. I say that to tell you that um, I've been through the luxury experience. I've been through domestic. I've been through the import, and I've seen the value. And one of the things that jumped out at me, as Jeff was alluding to, is I wish I would have had this product when I was selling, when I was on the floor, and when I was managing stores. Because the one thing I saw in almost every store, whether it was domestic, import, luxury, whatever it was, is the simple fact that nobody wanted to get on the phone. Everybody was afraid of the phone. Nobody knew what to say when they got on the phone. And whether it was the first voicemail they left or the 100th voicemail they left, it was all a completely shotgun approach to how they were working the phones. So I said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a different system. And went out and created something. So one of the things that we're struggling with in the world today is we're still doing things the way it was done way back, even in the 80s. I was looking at what one dealership was calling a best practice, and it was best practice back in the 1980s. So we got to understand that we need to move forward with different styles, different solutions, and that our customer has changed, our customer has moved, and our customer expects a different experience. We still heavily promote using the phone and reaching out and talking to them. That part hasn't changed, but they expect a different experience. They expect to reach out, have a conversation with somebody, get a follow-up email, get a calendar invite, get all these things that they are expecting because they're getting that experience at other touch points in their life. So whether that be a spa or a dentist or a chiropractor or whatever. So just really important to re-look at how you're engaging with your database. A database needs to be clean and it needs to be purposeful. If you're not reaching out to your people the way they want to be reached out to, and one of the famous ones in the car business is a customer will engage with you somehow, whether it's online, on the phone, whatever the case may be, and they'll be inquiring about an oil change, and the dealership will keep feeding them a car payment of $199 with $2,000 down on this model. The customer doesn't care about a car payment. They just want to know about an oil change and how they can get that done in their life. So that means that we have to be able to reach out to our customers both in a timely manner and a relevant manner. And we need to be personal with it. We need to reach out and say, hey, Tim, how are you? Jeff, how are you? What's going on in your world? Jeff and I know a little bit about each other. We've never met, but we know a little bit about each other, and we can carry on a conversation that's relevant to Jeff, and we can move forward easier because we know a little bit about each other. And the final point on this page is hope is not a strategy, and that's something that really we need to be aware of, and we need to have that in the back of our mind. We need to be very strategic. There's a couple of people on this call that are very good at what they do and being strategic, and part of that is the way they have grown and the way they've managed their profile and the portfolio that they manage for the dealership they're at. A couple of things to be aware of is the very first thing is clean up your data. The very first thing you got to do is clean it up. And it hurts when you first do it because you're so proud of these 4,000 or 10,000 or whatever you think you've got. But at the end of the day, clean it up to the people that you want to talk to, clean it up to the people that'll listen to you, and clean it up to know that when you reach out with a relevant message, you're reaching the right people at the right number. What we see when we go into dealerships sometimes is they've got the same phone number in home, office, and cell. Well, good luck with that. You need to know what number you've got. If you don't have an office number, don't put an office number in there. All you have is a cell. If that's how the customer wants communicated with, fantastic. And do you have their work number? If you have an email that ends in a XYZ Energy then get rid of it and get a personal one. Because as we saw when we went through COVID, a lot of changes happen. And if you can't reach your database, you're not effective. You're just sending it to some HR profile somewhere and it's getting dumped into something. So you're not reaching out to your people the way they want to be reached out to. Ensuring castle compliance is another one that's really important. It's top notch, but if you have good data and you're running an efficient dealership and you can run a report that says these people are about to expire and you will not be able to communicate with them anymore, you can reach out to them and say, hey, we're having a huge sale this month where wiper blades are $1. You reach out to these people, they come in, they put wiper blades on, they give you $1 and they go away, but you've now got an established business relationship with them and you can now market to them for another 2 years. So it's really important that you know what you got so you can manage it clean and make sure as you go through this that you're always able to reach out and you know who you're reaching out to and with what message. We get asked a lot, what can we communicate? What do we have to talk about? We're just a dealership. There are some people that we don't know whether they're buying a car, or doing an oil change, or buying running boards, or what they're doing. There's a lot of messages that you can reach out to them with. And it starts with engaging your customer to have a relevant conversation. And that goes back to not reaching out to them 100 times a year with a private sale message. Because if that's all you're doing, they don't care. You need to have things like newsletters that engage them and give them pumpkin spice recipes and gardening tips and hints and how to keep your car defrosted in the winter and 10 hacks for your cup holder and all those things that people love. And the one that's trending really big right now is the top 10 list. Top 10 reasons why. This is why. This is why. You need your people to engage with you so they don't just see it as, oh, here comes another sale, and then they just start hitting unsubscribe, and you're irrelevant in their world. New owner clinics, they're fantastic. If you're not doing them, you should be doing them, and you can invite people to them with the fact that when somebody takes a vehicle home, they've taken delivery, they're excited, finance did an amazing job. The next day, they should get a call from the dealership saying, hey, how was your ride home? How'd everything go? Everything was great. Fantastic. Thanks for checking. Hey, I just want to take 5 minutes, and I just want to go through and make sure we've got all the right information in our system. What's the right email? Where would you like us to send stuff? Oh, well, you know what? This person in the relationship handles the car stuff, so let's give you their email. Let's give you their cell. Let's make sure that we can reach them. And now you start to have a clean database. And you got to start somewhere. It takes... if you go in and you got to purge 2,000 people out of your database, it'll take you about 2 years to get those back. But when you're back, you have clean, clear, concise data that you can market to.
So Barry, I have a question for you.
Yes.
A lot of people are of the mindset, and yes, we know that's not the right way, but a lot of dealers are of the mindset that's saying, well, I'd rather have more people to reach or to send something to and throw a little bit of stuff against the wall than to have less people, period.
Yeah, and I think you're not wrong. You're not wrong, because everybody loves that big number. But what they don't realize is what they're spending on that extra useless, I'm going to call it, data as far as what they think they have. Meanwhile, the customer is 3 cars away from your dealership. You might have done an oil change with them 6 years ago, but they've bought 3 cars somewhere else. You are so useless to them. They don't even know where you are anymore. It has no value. So you need to clean it up. And when you see what a clean database can do, it'll scare you, because all of a sudden you're not having to reach out to 8,000 people. You're reaching out to 400 people. And you're not burning through your data, and even if you are holding private sales, which if that works in your industry and that works in your product, that's fantastic. But if you can reach out to 400 people and sell 40 vehicles instead of 2,000 and sell 40 vehicles, trust me, it is a way better experience. And then you can do that on a monthly basis, and you're not burning your data. it's a bit of a problem in some of the domestic stores. I'm going to be honest with you, where they think they have 10,000 people that they can market to. They bring in a company, they create a whole bunch of flyers, they spend a massive amount of money on mailers, and they're all going in recycling if they make it that far. You know, they don't know where their customers live, and they don't know they have a community mailbox. They don't know that their customers don't look at their mail for 2 weeks. And so the sale is far from over by the time somebody wanders down to the mailbox and checks that flyer. And meanwhile, they're getting all their bills online, so they're like, "Well, I'm just going to go clean the mailbox out." So it's knowing that kind of stuff and knowing where your customers live, being able to market to them differently. If you have customers that live in a neighborhood that gets door drop mail, well, then you can market to them differently than you can if they're in a newer neighborhood with a community mailbox. But if you don't know, you're you can't market to everybody the same way. So I think that's just really important, and that's where you're getting to know your data, getting to know your people, and reaching out to them again with a message that they want to hear. Some of the best practices and these are different industries. Again, we're focusing primarily on automotive, but the best thing you can do is pick up the phone and talk to your people. If you've been burning through your database for the last 2-3 years, it's going to take a little bit for them to trust you again. But the best thing to do, pick up the phone, talk to them about something that's relevant to them. And I'm a big believer in having that loss leader sale again, that the wiper blade for virtually nothing, and get them back in, engage them, and make sure that you've got a different team culture when they show up. So when they do, you can start cleaning it up. Hey, while you're here, I just want to make sure that that we've got the right phone numbers in place for you. What's your cell number? What's your home number? Oh, we don't have a home number anymore. Okay. Well, what's your email? I have one here for ABC Energy. Oh, no, I haven't worked there for 2 years. Okay, well, let's get the right one in here. Who handles the automotive business in your family? Is it the husband? Is it the wife? What's the dynamic? Let's get the right email, so when we reach out, we're reaching out to the right person, and just start cleaning it up. It'll take 24 months on the outside, but I'll tell you, when you're done, you are ready to go. Making sure that your team knows the dealership value proposition, making sure that your employees have a two sentence, 3 sentence elevator pitch. So when they're at Starbucks standing there with your T-shirt on, and somebody says, "Oh, I heard about you guys. You're the whatever store around the corner." What do they say? What comes next? Do they say, "Oh, yeah, whatever, grumble, grumble, grumble," or do they say, "Yeah, no, we're your Dodge store for life because this and this and this and that and that and that. If you ever get a chance, come on in. We offer free car washes." Is that what they say? Or do they say the grumble, grumble, well, whatever, I'm looking for a new job? But it's no fun there. The other one is making sure that your people are good on the phone, they understand the phone, and they have scripts to walk them through. You can go to anybody at any level. It doesn't matter how long somebody's done something, how long somebody's pitched something, how well somebody knows what their product is. They need a script in front of them for when it goes sideways, because calls will go sideways on it. You pick up the phone, you start talking, and all of a sudden some A-type says to you, yeah, I get it, but you just get to the final pitch, and they get stymied, they get stalled, they get mudded up, and they just fall apart. So they need something they can fall back on really quickly right in front of them, and it's approved by ownership, approved by manager, whatever the chain of command needs to be. But you've got something in front of them that you want them to say, you know what it is, and everybody's talking the same language. They need to be recorded. They need to be recorded so that you can have those for coachability and to get that improvement that you're looking for. And they need to be held accountable. You need a culture in your store, in your building, in your business, whatever you represent as far as your industry goes, you can walk into a room and say, let's make some calls right now. Let's make 5 calls. Just pull up your CRM. Let's make some calls together. And you need to be able to have that so they're like, yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah, appreciate that. Here's the people I was going to call this morning anyway. Let's just call them. You need to have that so that you know that they're comfortable. But you also need to make the call with them. Let's pick up the phone. Let's make some calls. What happens way too often is somebody with management in their title walks through the business, whatever it might happen to be, stomps around a little bit and says, how come no one's making any calls? Go make some calls. Here's a list, go make some calls. So what you do is you get back a list in a couple hours with a bunch of left messages beside the name, and it's set on your desk, and you're like, there, boss, there's no one in there. There's a bad list, blah, 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 blah. Well, it wasn't, because you can't pull a bad list. You can have bad numbers or bad people or people not interested on that list, but you really can't pull a bad list. So you need your team with a culture that says, we get it, we know how to do it, we're going to do it, and we're going to make a difference. When you pick up the phone, the response rate goes up astronomical. We've been told over the last probably 5 years is when it started, and I don't have an exact timeline, that texting and email was the way to reach out to our database. In one sense, it works because we know it went out. The other sense, we know that we take some comfort in saying, back to what your question was, Jeff, I reached 10,000 people with this message. There's got to be some business in there somewhere. But the problem we're having is we're being told this because the customers love getting the text because they can delete it and they don't have to engage with us. It's okay getting an email. They just move it to trash and move on. But when you pick up the phone, you have an engagement process. And now you have a conversation. And I'm looking at my screen and I see Ben on my screen. If I'm talking to Ben and I are going to have a conversation. And if Ben has a legitimate reason why he doesn't want to engage business with me, I can either deal with it or accept it and move on. But I can't deal with it if I sent a text. I can't deal with it if I sent an email. So when I pick up the phone and I say, Ben, are you interested in doing business with me? Then Ben can say, you know what, it just doesn't justify it. It's not worth it. It isn't this. We can talk it through. And I'm not saying Ben's going to buy my product, but I'm going to have a 5-minute conversation with another human being that is potentially a customer. And if you're at a dealership and you're reaching out to your database, that number just goes up astronomically. What we're looking at here is cold calling. The cold calling difference between what a telephone is and what an email is completely different. So if you're reaching out to your database to say, hey, here's what I offer, here's a new service we have, hey, we haven't spoken in a while, just wanted to say hi, whatever the case may be, keep it quick, keep it clean, and keep it to the point and keep it friendly. And you will be amazed how people start to engage. One thing I'd asked last week and a half ago, is for some people who couldn't attend to send in some questions, because this will be posted on the AutoHub website. And so this was their way of attending. There was a couple of people who wanted to that couldn't. And so they sent in some questions, and here's 3 of them here. And one question was, what is the best practice for a dealer who wants to start a BDC? So they recognize it, they want it, they need it, they realize they're going to get out to more people. The biggest thing with a BDC, if you're starting something, get some good tech behind you and start with one person. Don't go out and hire 5 people and spend a whole bunch of money and do that. Get one person, make sure that you've got a good person that can engage, that's got really good personality, and get started with a small list. Start with 20 people a day. Watch them, manage them, work together with them, make calls with them so you understand what they go through on a day-to-day basis. And when you're going through that process, do you need some technology? Maybe, maybe not, but you're going to need some as you start ramping up. And I think so many times somebody says, I'm going to start a BDC, they go out and hire 5 people, they do some rentals, they buy some desks, and then somebody else goes, how much did you spend starting this thing? And what have you got out of this? So start small, be efficient, add to your team. It'll grow so fast once you start realizing what you can do. And at the end of the slideshow here, we're going to talk about some different applications that we can put into the dealership. How often
can do for you, Barry, that was brought up by John Latke is, what about video? And maybe you can address that later on when you go with your different ways. Yeah,
we can talk about that now. Video is very good. I would do it with anything. I would make sure that if you're going to, and I'm just going to jump really quickly into touch point. In our system, what happens is you can make a phone call, send an email with a link with the video. And so that way you should encompass it all. You've got a personal connection. And if I was talking to John, I would say, hey, John, thanks very much for your interest in our product. There's an email sitting in your inbox, and it's got a link to a video of how the product works. Feel free to look at that a couple of times. There's a link to the website as well. My contact information is in there. Feel free to reach out this afternoon after you've viewed it. So the whole thing is to try to get everybody on as many topics and as many touch points as you can see that we can without just getting a random text on your phone that you can just slide over and delete. So next question there was, how can I reach out to my database without the unsubscribe rate? Again, you go back to how often you reach out and with what relevance, and you'll find your unsubscribe plummet. It goes away because they're actually interested in what you're talking about. And I think that the thing that you need to be aware of is unsubscribe isn't a bad thing. I'm going to unsubscribe to some people that I did one business with once, and I'm just not interested in a future relationship. But that's okay. They're cleaning the database up for you. That's not a problem. But the more relevant you are, the less unsubscribes you'll have. I remember in the past in my career, we would send out something, and all of a sudden there was 5 unsubscribes, and it looks so bad because they all come in at once. But what you don't realize is there's 2,000 people that were okay with the message. So don't be afraid of unsubscribes. Keep an eye on it. It's really important. And the best practice is to reach out to those people that unsubscribed and just say, hey, I just want to make sure you realize what you unsubscribed to. And if you're okay with that, we're all good with it. I just wanted to make sure that you understood. How many calls can I expect my team to make? This one is a little bit different, but I think if you're asking somebody without technology to make more than 80 phone calls, maybe 100 a day, you're going to have a burnout rate, and you will not keep those people around. It takes a real strong personality to pick up the phone 100 times, leave an amazing voicemail, talk to customers, send an email with proper links, to John's point with video, all those different things. It's a big commitment, a big job for one person. So if you're not using any technology, then go easy on what the expectation is. It's easy to sit there and say, well, make more, but at the end of the day, they'll just go look for a different job, and then you're struggling with that. It does kind of lead me into what Touchpoint does. We are a technology. We are a dialing technology that allows people to reach more people and stop that burnout rate. And we encompass what we just talked about as far as all best practices. So Touchpoint is cloud-based. That allows anybody to use it from anywhere. The other day we were in a dealership doing an installation, and we were using the boardroom computer, my cell phone, and front reception as the call display. So everything is very cloud-based and easy to use. It really does streamline your team, so you're not burning them out when you're doing those all those calls. We can reach in an hour what most people expect their team to be able to reach in a day. And that changes things a lot. You can now have, if you have reception crossover or whatever the case may be, you can now have somebody sit down for an hour, call the 80 people that you've been reaching anyway. They all get an email. They all get links. They all get whatever you want to put into it. And it just changes it. We do record our calls, and we make sure that whoever is in the supervisory role has the ability to listen to those for coachability, and also for somebody comes back and says, you told me this, you can jump in there and say, well, actually we didn't. I can see why you thought that, but we didn't. So it's there to save you as well. 2 things happen when you make a phone call. It either goes to a voicemail or somebody picks up and says hello. So if it does go to a voicemail, we leave your pre-recorded voicemail. We send them an email. We can schedule a calendar event. And so your kept appointments stay up. It's no longer, oh, I forgot. And, oh, yeah. Sorry about that. So it changes that for you. How does it work? It's pretty straightforward. You select your the criteria that you want to call, and you export it into Touchpoint via Excel. You either record a voice message, or you select one from the script, or select one from the library that you'd done before. Same with the scripting. You either use a script you've made before, or you create a new one, whatever you happen to be doing. Call into the dialing bridge. You select your call display number, and you start moving through. All progress is tracked, and we're going to go look at some screenshots of how that works. So the first thing we talked about there is connecting and making sure that if you're calling from ABC Motors, you want main reception ABC Motors to show up, then that's what you do. You go in, main reception, you put the number in, and you select that to be used. And that's what shows up on the call display on their screen. Next, you go in and select the phone script, as I said. The scripts are all customizable, and same with the emails. You change them as you need to. You create ones that you might use again. If you're going through a recall cycle with your manufacturer, for example, you go in, you create a recall script, you create a recall email, you maybe create a quick video as to what the recall affects on the vehicle, and then you embed the link to the manufacturer's check your bin for the recall. And the customer gets that, and they're like, wow, okay, perfect. This is what it is. This is what happens if I don't do it. And this is the link where I can type my VIN in, and maybe another link to the dealership's service booking website. So they've virtually gone in and had a great experience, seen what the problem is, checked their VIN, and booked an appointment with them. So it's very effective when it comes to that. When you're developing scripts, any imported information can be dropped into the script here. So here we've put the customer's first name, again, who you are, the model of their vehicle, and et cetera, et cetera. So it sounds very effective. It sounds as you put a lot of work into the research of the phone call before you make the phone call. It sounds very personal. Voicemail library, this is similar again. You go in, you record a voicemail. This is a sample of a dealership that's using it now. If they're running a campaign for no payments for 90 days, if they were appointment confirmation, whatever the case may be, they're just going to go in, they're going to select this one, and that's going to be what's dropped every time it hits voicemail. Again, two things happen. When you make a phone call, you either go to a voicemail or you get a live answer. In this case here, these are the buttons that are displayed when the phone is ringing. And you have options to hit here, obviously. And if you hit voicemail, in this case, it's programmed to send an email, says, hey, sorry, I missed you. I tried reaching you. Here's a link to our private sale that we're having. Please let me know if you have any interest in this at this time. Once somebody picks up the phone, the buttons change, and now you can manage everything through. If you happen to hit that one person that tells you, I've asked 4 times for you guys to put me on your do not contact list. So you just hit the DNC button, it moves it to a DNC folder and sends an email that says, sorry, we sent you an email sorry, we sent you a phone call today. The team is working on it. It'll take a couple of days, we'll get on it. And every single one of these is programmed to do something different. So if you hit manager follow-up, it does something different. Not in the market, maybe at a later date, whatever the case may be. Not interested, it'll move it to a different folder and send a different email. What does the email look like? This is what a sample of one looks like. And again, it puts it in, hello, John. Thanks again for taking my call. Like, you guys can all read it. I look forward to seeing you soon. I'll contact you closer to the weekend. Thanks again for your interest in the ABC, and we'll talk soon. Below is my contact information. Okay? So now the person's had a live conversation, been sent a personalized email, and they're going to show up for this. They're all in. Here's a sample of one of the email signatures that can be created. There's about 8 different layouts you can select from. And it'll include your personal email, the dealership website, any phone numbers, and any social that you want to put on here. So if you're strong on Instagram, or if you're strong on Facebook, or whatever the case may be, your links can all go there, and they can follow you through. The other thing that the system does is when you're on a call and you've scheduled an appointment with somebody, you can go into it and send them a link to their Outlook or their Google Calendar, which they will accept and get a reminder. So if it's an in-person visit, you can give them a 5-hour reminder or 1-hour reminder. If it's a phone call you're setting them up for, you can send them a 5-minute, 10-minute, whatever the case may be there. The next thing that I want to talk about is who can use it. And again, we're talking for a dealership environment. There's a lot of different ways that a customer would like to be approached, and we need to understand that a little bit better. One of the things it can be used for is if we're calling the previous day's unsold prospects. Maybe we had a busy Saturday, whatever the case may be. We just quickly load those people into the system. The sales manager records a quick voicemail or uses the one they used last time from the library. And they're just going to call and say, hey, my name is, and I saw you were in the store on Saturday, but I see we didn't do business with you. Is there anything we can do to help? Any time that a salesperson leaves the floor, for whatever reason, they move into being a service advisor, they move on to retirement in the Bahamas, whatever the case may be. Those customers should get a phone call saying, hey, Tom's not on the floor anymore. I'll be handling your file from now on. If there's anything I can do, here's my photo, here's my contact number. Next time you're in service, feel free to look me up. And then if you need a ride, I'll give you a ride wherever you're going. Sales personnel, again, calling back interested people who were in last month. Every month, well, not every time, but most month, on the first of the month, you get new programs. Load everybody in that was interested in that vehicle last month and start a campaign, send it out to them and say, thank goodness you didn't buy a car last month because the programs got better. And man, I just feel terrible if I sold you a car last month, but come on in, we got better programs and we're ready to go ahead. Calling prospects, if you are holding a private sale, calling them and saying, hey, just wanted to let you know that, you're driving a ABC car and we have a sale on ABC cars. So if you would like to upgrade, come on in and have that ability to send them a link to your landing page for your sale. Lease portfolio. It's amazing for lease portfolios. You can go in, you go in as the manager, the owner, whatever your level is, and actually set up the cadence so you know what's happening. You know that a year into the lease they're getting this contact. 2 years in they're getting this. 6 months before, 3 months, 2 months, 1 week, whatever the case may be. You just set it all up. It's all got a voicemail in there. It's all got an email that it comes with, and you're able to follow them through. Again, notifying the customers when they say, hey, I'm the one looking after your portfolio now. Parts and service, if we go to the back of the building, it's really important there too. Inevitably, we will get a large job in the back of the shop, and everybody who's been in a dealership environment knows that when you walk into the back of the shop and there's a big job going on, that car is pretty much strewn everywhere. The dash is apart, the trunk's out of it, the back seats are out of it, like the car is apart. Well, when we put that back together, wouldn't it be nice if the service manager picked up the phone and said, hey, you were in, you had a pretty big job. I just want to make sure there's no lights, no rattles, everything's operating as it should be, and everything is good. Customer is going to either say, hey, you know what, I was going to call you this afternoon because there is a problem, or they're going to say, man, I can't believe you called me. Thanks very much. I really appreciate that. Back to when somebody leaves an area, when the service advisor leaves, the service manager reaches out and says, hey, I just want to let you know that so-and-so is not with us anymore. So when you come in, ask for me and I'll introduce you to someone else on our service drive. Parts personnel, they are easily able to, especially during recall, when you get 70 of those parts in, pick up the phone, call them and say, your special parts are here. I'd like to go ahead and book an appointment now for you. And let's go ahead and do that now. Financial services, there's a couple of people on the call that are in the finance offices. They're very progressive, and I know that they're always looking for ways to do things differently. They can be calling people that their warranty is about to expire. It's about 20 calls a month. It doesn't have to be done on the first of the month when you're busy, the last of the month when you're busy. You just pick a day somewhere in the middle of the month. You go call those 20 people and say, did you know you're about to, your warranty's about to expire? Here's some options for you. Here's a link. Here's this. Here's that. Whatever you have, and just talk to them. You'd be amazed how many people engage. Calling customers that already purchased a short extended warranty when they bought the car, thinking they were going to do something different. They were going to get rid of it after the lease. Now they're buying it out, whatever the case may be. This is a big one. We're seeing this. There's huge growth in this one. If you're doing second chance financing, calling those customers after a couple of years to upgrade them. Reward them for making their payments. You might have put them in a 22% interest rate 2 years ago. Now you're going to call them back and say, what if I could get you a 2-year newer car, drop your interest rate by 5 points, and keep rebuilding your credit? So if you can do that with them every couple of years, whatever your cadence is, it might be 2.5, it might be 3, but keep those people. They're going to be customers for life because you took them from 22% over a course of 3 or 4 vehicles. You took them down to 0, 1.9, whatever the case may be. Okay, it's really, really important on that one. If you do have a BDC or something that resembles a BDC, really important, call yesterday's sales deliveries, get your arm around them, get your information correct in the system, make sure everybody understands, who's coming, who they are, why they're there, and who should be there. Calling yesterday's customers to make sure there's no issues. That's a real big one, especially if you have a manufacturer that sends out a survey. They need to be able to say, yeah, no, the dealership contacted me, everything is good. So in this case, what we do is we set up the system so that if they say, oh man, you guys are fantastic, you're great, I wouldn't dream of going to another dealership, Bill's my favorite service advisor, whatever the case may be, then you send them a link to your podium so you can get a 5-star review on that. If they say, yeah, that was good, it was all right, okay, well, thanks for taking my call, I really appreciate it, we'll see you next time. Okay, so you're filtering out the ones that are your real flag wavers and that really love the way you do business. Anytime somebody misses an appointment, calling and reaching out to them to rebook it, offering to pick up the vehicle, whatever you need to do to get that work in there. Any declined services, so here's everybody who said no to brake jobs last month. Let's send them all a 15% discount coupon to get their brakes done going forward. Again, confirming all of tomorrow or the next day's service appointment so you know what you got coming at you. It's not a surprise. The service advisors aren't burnt out at 4 o'clock when they still got 15 vehicles to go through the shop. It's crazy. So you know what's happening. Again, back to recalls. It's a gift for recalls because one of the struggles that are out there is, as a customer, I'm in 3 or 4 different databases throughout the city I'm in. So the first one to call me and say, hey, you were in for ABC on your vehicle and you have a recall. The first one to call me and book my appointment is the one I'm going to go to. And I might just say, oh, you got the parts, you can do that? Yeah, okay, I'll be there. Thank you very much. So as a dealership, you need to be the first one on the blocks saying, hey, we're reaching out to you. You've got this issue. Manufacturer sent us the parts. We're ready to do it. You can come in as soon as Tuesday. How does that work for you? The last ones are the ones that I get the most when I do a demonstration for a dealership. Why has the owner never called anybody who's been an amazing customer? There's people that have bought 10 vehicles from the dealership and the owner doesn't even know their name. The owner needs to pick up the phone. All the information gets entered into the system. The owner picks up the phone, pre-records a voicemail, and calls 3 or 4 people and says, thank you. If there's ever a problem, you now have my contact information. I'll be happy to help or resolve any issues you happen to have. The other one is the general manager, and I leave this one for the last because this one is the one that gets the most unique response. When the general manager phones everybody from the past month that entered into their database through the service department, so there's no stock number attached to them, and says, thank you. I know you've got lots of options in the city we live in. Thank you for choosing us. The reason they came to you is either A, they moved, or B, they're mad at someone else in town. And if they're mad at someone else and they got in a big scrap with the service manager at the last place, and now the GM is calling saying, thank you very much, your business is important to me, and they just did an oil change, they're wowed. They will phone into reception. They will hunt that person down to thank them. It's absolutely astounding how that comes together. So I've been going on here a little bit. That is the product. I did want to end a little bit earlier in case there was some questions. And also, it's always nice when a meeting ends a little bit early anyway. So with that said, is there any questions that anyone wants to bring forward?
Well, I made a comment. Sorry, is somebody there? So I'll bring up a comment from Joshua here that just says they love the castle compliance idea regarding the micro sale. $1 WIPO rates refreshes those individuals, and it's a simple concept that seems to get overlooked time and time again. So some really good operational insights.
And I think one of the things, Joshua, to that point is it's amazing how fast we'll say goodbye to somebody. We'll spend hundreds of dollars trying to get somebody, but it's amazing how fast we'll say goodbye to them. And if the wiper blade thing costs you $15, I'll be blown away. And not only are they thrilled that they got wiper blades for $1, they got one over on the dealership. They're up, and they got them, and everything is good. And at the end of the day, they're absolutely thrilled with you. Yeah. So it's a big one, and thanks for making a comment on that. The one thing, Jeff, I wanted to bring up, and it was kind of a little bit. It went out on LinkedIn, but it didn't go out anywhere else. There is for anybody on the show today, and we've got an attendance taken. Anybody on the show today is going to be put into a draw to qualify for a 1-month usage of Touchpoint, and so there won't be any cost to that, no setup to that, no obligation. There's no contracts, no nothing. Our team will set you up with a complimentary use for 1 month. To see if there is any application there for you. So hopefully good luck to everybody on. And again, I do appreciate it. And again, we're going to ask if there's any more questions out there.
Well, I do want to make a comment while people are thinking of questions, and I can feel all the questions coming.
Yeah, is that what that?
Yeah, that's just woo. But one thing I've always found in all my years is the higher somebody moves up in the hierarchy of the dealership, from a service advisor to an assistant service manager to an assistant GM or whatever, the less the amount of interest they have in making phone calls. And
yeah.
And I experienced that myself. And what I like is it gives an opportunity for somebody who has earned call reluctance, that it gets them off their proverbial butt and gets a call made for them. And I tried to do some of these things myself, as I know you did and anybody else on there, but you're wearing multiple hats and it's very tough. We do have a question from Gordon Swale, and actually it's a question actually for me. Yes, there will be a recording available, definitely, Gordon.
I think the other thing that you bring up there, Jeff, is not everybody's comfortable on the phone, and it's a huge hurdle to overcome. It just is, and unfortunately, the way it gets handled in a lot of businesses, and the car business is famous for it, is somebody walks up to somebody and says, "Print me off a list of 1,200 people," and then they walk around, they put it on everybody's desk, and they're like, "Call these people. We're having a sale in 3 days," and they don't know what to say. They don't know what the sale is. They have no script. They got nothing to follow. They got nothing to fall back on. They feel they're going to look stupid, and all they really end up doing is, "Hi, do you want to buy a car?" That's about the extent of what you get. And so, but when you can actually put some technology behind somebody, give them the power, give them the ability to call these people, know what to say, be comfortable on the phone, The other day I mentioned I was doing an install and I was training the staff, and I'm going to tell you without a, a flicker of doubt, it was the worst phone call I've ever heard in my life. Okay, and I'm going to say of 25 years, I've got a couple that I can pull from. This was the worst, absolutely the worst. The gentleman had a very heavy accent. He was wearing a face mask when he made the call. It was just everything was wrong with it. The guy booked an appointment because he knew what to say. He had it in front of him. He didn't get stalled out. He didn't get stymied. He just kept moving to the next bullet point. And accidentally, the guy's like, "Yeah, you know what? 4 o'clock on Saturday works for me." And it was like I was laughing inside very badly. But any other situation, the guy would have just naturally hung up the phone halfway through the conversation because it wasn't going very good. So
Right.
having technology that allows people to push themselves through and makes it efficient for them.
Correct. We have a question from Joshua just asking Barry, does the software communicate and integrate with DealerSocket?
The folks at Dealer Socket and I are speaking right now. Joshua, I don't have anything right now for you. Touchpoint doesn't take up a lot of real estate on a desktop or laptop, whatever you're using. And so what I coach most people to do is just have your Dealer Socket up on one side of your screen, Touchpoint on the other, and as you're having the conversation, you can update and go from there. What we can do and what we do right now is when you export your information out of Socket via Excel, and any notes you make in the touchpoint dialer while you're in the phone call session, is you export that back with Excel and it goes back into the note section. So it's not a hard integration, but it's very much able to transfer the data.
Terrific. One thing I'm wondering here. So your system works by sending out a recorded message, or does a live body pick up the phone and call somebody?
Good, really good question. I get asked that a fair bit. What actually happens is it takes a live body to manage the system, and what that does is that moves it away from a robo dialer. Nobody likes a robo dialer. Ring, ring, ring. You pick it up. There's a pause. Somewhere, somebody from Connecticut is picking up the phone to talk to you. What happens is you're on the phone. What the system is doing is leaving a pre-recorded voicemail, so you're not having to do that. Most of the phone calls we make, we find that out of 100 calls, 70% will be voicemail, 30% will be live conversations. So really what it does is it moves the voicemails out of the way so you can have live conversations with your customers, which, if we're honest with ourselves, that's what we're looking for when we pick up the phone to do a campaign, is we're looking to talk to people. The voicemails are just a part of it. So yes, so it is managed by a person, and when somebody picks up the phone, that live person is there to speak to that customer.
Perfect. Anybody else out there? Well, I love your stuff. I have to tell you, I wish it was around a few years ago, because I remember managing a sales team where the owner of the dealership was stuck in the 90s. And his idea of being up to date was email. And he would never allow salespeople to have email. They wouldn't give them desktops, wouldn't give them any of that, but he would literally do what you said. He would print off literally 500 sheets of paper every day and walk around and throw a stack on every salesperson's desk. And considering his way of doing things, there was a substantial amount of turnover. And you would have somebody making a call, maybe with 3 lines of a suggestion, and luckily they might connect with 2 people, and probably had more do not calls than I've ever seen in my entire life at any dealership. So